Guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello, how you doing? My name is Jill. If you are new here, I hope you guys enjoy this video. For all of you who are returning, I hope you like what I post. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below along with that little bell if you want notifications every time that I post. Today, I know it's a little late, but I'm going to be doing my March wrap-up. Super excited about that. I managed to read 4 books in March, which I believe was less than what I had on my TBR. I'm almost positive that it is. I knew that I wanted to read a book on my Kindle that I didn't end up getting to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this wrap. Alright guys, so the first book that I ended up finishing in the month of March was Angels in America by Tony Kushner. We only did the first act. This is sold separately in Act 1 and Act 2, but I bought the full book. I didn't end up doing the second half because the first half was what needed to be done for class, and we had the option to read the second half, but I decided to pick up a different book for the month of April instead of reading the second half of this. This book is based around the AIDS and HIV epidemic that was across the world in the 1900s, right around the 1980s, I believe. And we are following a whole bunch of characters. This is written in play format, something that I don't particularly care for. If I have to read something that's in play format, I'd much rather see the play. But this was just something, you know, that I personally didn't care for. I felt like the characters are always talking over one another, and there's just, it didn't seem like there was a solid path to this story that we were just following. I felt like we were just following a whole bunch of different characters. Now, I do know that because I only read the first act that I'm not completely done with the story, so I'm sure it does have, you know, a better story path, especially because the second act is much larger than the first. As you could tell, this was the first act, and then this one is the second act, so quite a bit more pages when it comes to that. But in this story, we are following, let me open it up so I can tell you all of the characters. Our main characters are Roy Cohn, who actually is a real life person. He died from AIDS, but he told everybody that it was liver cancer. We have Joseph Porter Pitt, Harper Amy Pitt, Lewis Ironson, and Pryor Walter, and then another one that just pops up to me is Hannah Porter. We get to see her a little bit in the first act as well, but we're kind of just following their everyday lives. Even though this book is based around, you know, HIV and AIDS, and one of the main characters does have it, I feel like this story wasn't based completely around that. This is a gay fantasia on national themes, so it's not just about HIV and AIDS, but I just felt like, for me, this just wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I didn't put this on my Goodreads yet. I just forgot to, so I'll have to get on that, but probably 2 stars. I don't think I've ever rated anything quite that low in a long time, but this just wasn't doing it for me at all. The second book I read in the month of March is The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah. This book was actually a gift from my aunt in Chicago, and I'm getting into reading a whole bunch of different stuff, and she had sent me this because it is one of her favorites, and she thought that I would enjoy it. Definitely a 5-star book in my opinion. Just super packed with so much action. This book is based around this girl named Winter who grew up in the city of Chicago, not the good parts, and her father is this famous, around that area, kind of drug dealer, and he loves his family. He provides for them super duper well. You know, they get everything that they want, BMWs, diamonds, anything, and he really, really spoiled his daughter Winter. But when something goes down in that town, Winter has to learn how to survive for herself. And losing family and friends, and just learning what life is like for someone who doesn't have a family. This was just an excellent story, and I feel like even though it is realistic fiction, it was just so real in my mind. It was something that I could see, you know, people going through all the time and currently, and it just was so heart-wrenching. And by the time I got to the end, I just wanted to cry because it is so well written, and she manages to do great. She has a great cohesiveness when it comes to, you know, the time jumps in the story and steadily progressing the characters in the story as well. So I just loved this book to death. I highly, highly recommend it. I know that it isn't a book that I've seen a lot of people read. In fact, I've never even heard of it before my aunt sent it to me, but I absolutely love this book. I think the cover is gorgeous. I love the purples and pinks against that red lipstick. And it was just absolutely amazing. I loved the atmosphere that we were in, the friendships that were built, the sarcasm, and everything that we get to witness in this book is just absolutely wonderful, and it truly felt like we were really there with the characters. So yes, 5 stars. Highly recommend for those of you who haven't read it. And yeah, so the second book I read. The third book that I managed to finish in the month of March, which I already have a book talk up on, is Ready Player One by Ernest, Cline. And I gave this one, I rounded it up on Goodreads to 5 stars, but I definitely said that this was a 4.7. This story is based around a young boy who lives in what is called the stacks, which are a bunch of trailers stacked on top of one another. The atmosphere around this is very dystopian feel. It is the future. The world is kind of in shambles. You know, nobody really drives around anymore because of the gas prices. There's problems, you know, with electricity and just being able to feed everyone, and the poor are super poor, and you know, the rich can basically get whatever they want. But what we are following in this story is a video game that was created by somebody famous, and how our main character goes in, and the video game feels more like his life than real life does. The amazing thing about this book is they are trying to win Halliday's contest, the creator of this video game, along with his best friend. Once Halliday passed away, he left Easter eggs inside of this virtual reality game, and the goal is to get all 3 keys and win the game. And we get to see how our main character makes friends and comes to terms with his real life outside of the video games, and just learning what life is about, and loss, and everything else that just kind of comes with being a human, especially in the burned down society that he's in. I absolutely adored this book. It was a super, super quick read. Ernest Cline did a great job with progressing the story and the characters and explaining the video game, especially for a person, you know, who isn't a video gamer. I felt like he explained it really, really well on how the game works, as well as, you know, there are many things that get discussed in this book based around the 80s, and of course I wasn't born in the 80s, so I feel like he also explains different aspects of that really, really well, which I feel like is hard to do, because most writers just think that their readers are going to know most of the stuff that's in their books. So I really appreciated the amount of detail that was put into this book. It isn't super long, but he did an excellent job with, you know, making sure that everything that needed to be mentioned was mentioned so that the readers knew what was going on in the story and how it ended up that way. So definitely 4.5 stars. I will link my book talk on this book down below for you guys if you want to watch that. But anyway, yes, definitely I'd have to say my second favorite of the month. Highly, highly recommend as well. It's a modern day classic in my opinion. Everybody should pick up this. And the final book that I finished in the month of March is 5 Dark Fates by Kendare Blake. And I was super excited to get into this book in the month of March. I did do mostly audiobook on this one, which I didn't really care for. The speaker in the audiobook was just very monotone, almost like computerized, and I didn't really care for that, which I'm sure probably changed my opinion on this. I gave this book 3 stars. I was actually very disappointed with this book. Overall, I do feel like this series would have done better as an adult series. I just felt like this book was a little bit of a disappointment. I don't want to spoil you guys, but basically this series is about 3 queens. Each one possesses different powers and they live in different areas that surround this kind of capital. We have the elementals, the poisoners, and the naturalists. The elementals can control the weather. The most powerful can control all of them. Some are only fire, some are only water, some are air. The naturalists have the ability to talk to and communicate with animals. They do have their own familiars. And then the poisoners are extremely good at the art of poisoning and knowing their opponents and how best to get information. They're kind of the sly ones, I would say, in this book. But every couple of generations, a queen gives birth to triplets, and by their 16th birthday, they have to fight to the death, meaning one queen has to come out alive, and she is now the queen of Fenburn Island. The first book in this series was absolutely phenomenal. I enjoyed the second book as well. I feel like after that, it kind of just went downhill. I feel like this book was very rushed. It just wasn't what I was hoping for. I don't know what else to kind of say. I was just really disappointed. There was some pieces of this book that I did enjoy, but again, I don't want to spoil you guys. I do recommend picking up the first book. It was very good. And it could just be because I audiobook this most of the way instead of reading it that my opinions are a little bit on the lower side. But overall, it was a 3-star book for me. I don't really think I'm going to be picking up this series again. I may in the late future, but it didn't really resonate with me. I wanted to love this series more than I did. Again, I really do think it would have benefited from being an adult series. So yeah, last book of the month of March. Alrighty guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and the books that I have discussed. I will link all of these books, well, not link them, but I will write down what books I have mentioned down below for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys read in the comments down below for the month of March. And let me know if you have read any of these books, guys, what your opinions are on them, and, you know, anything like that. Link videos down below if you have book talks on any of these as well. I'd love to watch them. Make sure that you hit that like button as well and the subscribe button so you can be tuned into my channel. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.